In our previous video, we talked about how to navigate a block of data using the X-Ways toolset manually by hand, using the baked-in functionality of our offset navigations and our default width of base 16. But if we had to do this at scale or at volume, that could become quickly exhausting. Fortunately, the X-Ways toolset does provide us with some functionality to be able to accomplish this successfully and with ease. Now, it's important to note that there's a consistent reminder that we have to pay attention to what our navigational pane is set to, either decimal or hexadecimal. Keep that in mind as we work through this. For this demonstration, we're going to keep these same questions, which, as we can also note, they're also in hexadecimal. So I'm going to keep this in hexadecimal. If I was asked to find what the decimal location value of 352 would be, well, I would switch it to decimal. So you have to switch and kind of rock back and forth between hexadecimal and decimal, depending on what the particularities are of the question that's being asked. You could certainly see a question in your work of what is at 170. And we have to go find that. Let's stick with hexadecimal for this demonstration. Double check here. Double check our navigations. We're in hexadecimal. Great. So now locate the navigation menu at the top and select Go to Offset. We can also see a reminder here that's in hexadecimal. If we were to switch this to decimal, see it switches to decimal. So if you're trying to search for something and you're just not getting any sort of results or any sort of luck, just double check to make sure you're in the right view for the right question. Staying with hexadecimal here. What's now important to note is we're going to, by habit, we're going to develop the habit of just clear the previous work. You can also note that X-Ways does a handy-dandy history function in many of the aspects of this tool by clicking here and seeing previous work. We're going to leave this as bytes and also switch this to beginning. Now there's many different reasons why you would switch some of these values, but for the purposes of this work and a lot of what we're going to cover in this course, we're going to be using bytes and the beginning. So from here, once we have bytes, beginning, and clear, we're good to go. So now with our first question, where are we going to go with 1A0? 1A0, hit OK, and it's going to bring us right there to 67. Let's try 1FE. Here we go for 55. See how quick that was. What was also helpful is we didn't have to manually reset our starting position. So I showed you how to do this all by hand. Now I'm showing you how to do this with a little bit of technical assistance. But it's always good to know how to do this by hand before you start using the tools and depending on them. It helps you verify and validate the work that the tools are doing and make sure that you're getting the right answers that you need to get. So go to Offset, 16B. This is the same. It keeps moving it for you. Super helpful. So if we say we had a decimal value of, let's figure out what is at 300. Okay, that's a question we're looking for what's at decimal offset 300. Let's take a look. We switched our view to decimal, navigation, go to offset, clear it out, beginning, bytes, 300, and our value is 7C. Now, what if we also had to figure out what is the hexadecimal value of the decimal offset? Or what's a hexadecimal offset of the decimal offset, 300? Just as easy to figure that out. Look here towards our screen. Click 12C. Offset 1, 2, C. So if we had a question that said, what is the hexadecimal offset version of the decimal offset 300? That would be equals 12C. So we showed you in a previous video how to do this by hand, and now we're showing you how to use a little bit of technical automation here to be able to do this quickly with a lot more accuracy. But it's always good to remember how to do it by hand for validation and verification purposes. Hope this helps.